Yeah, originally I made it so I can have some extra income and to help out around the house. And obviously, I wanted to do car stuff, but it was like, this is a dream. What I'm doing right now, like I would have never thought I was gonna get to even half of what I'm doing now. So it was just growing, like getting to like growing the company, trying to get some more money and stuff, and it was always like I wanted to start driving and doing more stuff sooner. But autocross was cheap, and that's what I did for about like 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
Oh wow, 10 years.
Yeah, it wasn't like every month. It was more like, okay, whenever I had some extra time to like do it. And
So it was more the autocross was more hobby and less competitive.
yeah, even though autocross is always a competition, but it was more of a hobby. Like that's how I would get my car fix. Apart from like the car shows and whatnot that I would do in high school and stuff. And yeah, so originally it was just to help out around the house, and it just got to the point that like, oh, now I can start affording more things. Or I got a 350Z after that I started to go on track days and stuff. And same thing, trying to make some more money to get to do more stuff. And that's the track stuff was awesome because after a few years I became an instructor and I had free track time. So I did that for quite a while. And same thing, starting to try and get some more money to do other stuff that I could afford. To I eventually, like, I was always like putting it back because it takes a lot of money to like go racing. And then I have my family, my kids, wife, and so it's always like, oh, it's not responsible to grab all this money and throw it into a race car. So I was always kind of like holding myself back, like put it back. I would just do track days and stuff until eventually.
Not to backtrack real quick,
Yeah.
Were you instructor at SCCA or were you instructor at autocross?
I was at SCCA. I didn't get my SCCA license.
I actually went ahead on you. My bad.
Yeah. It was originally it was like HOD, like hooked on driving.
Yeah.
HPD.
I did that stuff.
Yeah,
I did some of that too, actually.
that's where you start.
Yeah.
And then that's basically where you actually start going fast and things start to get expensive. Brake pads, tires. That's like
Learn a little bit about
start-
lines and stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
You didn't do the AutoZone trick where you buy 2 sets of pads and then you go to the track and you use all that brake pad and you go back with the box with the lifetime warranty. Like, I don't know what happened. Like, shit, you just constantly swap them out between track events.
I always heard like not to use like bad brake pads. Not saying they were bad, but it was like I don't know. I was got into
pro
like
tips over here.
yeah, that's like that sounds pretty good because pads like that will last like barely one track day. So I never did that, but that's pretty smart.
I would get almost 5 30-minute sessions at Homestead and under Farah when they were doing their HPD
Nice.
stuff. Like
on what car?
that was a NB Miata.
Okay, yeah, okay,
But that's how I kept my brake costs down.
yeah, it's pretty good.
Turn in the rotors, turn in the pads, and freshen
And
the car.
since they're so soft, the rotor doesn't really get hurt that much. So yeah, that's pretty good. I should have done that. Yeah, and it got to a point that I was traveling with. It was this company called the HPDE, and they started out of South Florida, and they were doing they took me to like Road Atlanta and like basically a lot of other racetracks around the U.S. So that was an amazing experience. It was actually the first time I got into a private plane. Like the owner had like a membership with like a private plane company, and I was like, this was I was maybe like 23, 24, and I got to ride in a private plane. That was
so.
Like,
what's your favorite track you've driven?
Dude, Road Atlanta is like right up there.
All right, yeah.
Like, it's just the elevation changes. It's like amazing. Like, yeah,
the blind commitment on so many different parts of the course.
Yes, and it's something like until you drive that track, you don't understand. I tell so many people, it's like if you've never driven Road Atlanta, you have to go drive it. It's like
the way your heart just dumps when you go down the final turn.
Yes,
down to the bridge. Like
on that yellow, follow that yellow top sign.
you know you have balls when you don't lift when you go over that hill.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, 100%.
So when did you transition to drifting?
So I started drifting in 2019. This was 2019, kind of like the mid 2019. I had this buddy. Well, now you used to drive a Subaru, so maybe you know him. So down in South Florida, I had it was like SoFlo Subis. It was like a group.
Oh, I know that group.
We're both South Florida guys.
Okay,
Yeah,
so SoFlo Subis. It was like, I want to say it was like one of the first members when we started doing the whole thing, like the meeting at
I was
Foot
one of the
Rockers and
first
stuff.
members of Broward County Subies or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
Are you talking about Rockers? Is that what you said?
Foot Rockers. Foot Rockers. That was the meet location.
Yeah,
in South,
I was there.
I remember Fuddruckers.
I was
there. In Miami, like the Foot Rockers in Miami meet. Oh, so we probably like
just never knew.
Yeah, we jumped into each other. Like I had a Bug Eye and then Hawkeye.
I was taking the car out on the wall there.
Okay.
Before it had all the crazy race car stuff.
I think that was like 2000.
For me, it was 12 and 15. 12 through 15. I was doing that.
Okay. What was it? Oh man, it's been a while. Like, yeah. Anyway, so I did, the whole Subi thing with, I forget his thing is JJ Blackbird on Instagram. He used to drift.
He's Jonathan.
Yeah.
He had like a black 350Z with a back wing.
So I knew him from the Subaru club because we both had Subis. But then I stopped, like when I started doing the whole track stuff, I kind of like left the Subi club and stuff. Like I was doing more track, and it was a lot funner than just hanging out every Wednesday night at the Foot Rockers with the Subi guys.
Yeah.
So, but you know, we followed each other on Instagram and stuff, and I will always see that he will post like drifting stuff. And I've always, you know, being into motorsports, it's something that it's part of it. Like I wanted to do it. The only time I got to drift was whenever I was out of tires at the track, and you know, just kill them on the last set of corners, and then being yelled at by the track workers. Like, you can't drift here.
But the event's over, so I'm free.
Yeah. So yeah, I find out about him because he went to like one of the track events at Palm Beach, and he posted it, and I'm like, I drive on this track all the time, and I never knew that they do drift events there. What is this? Like, and so I hit him up, and he's like, yeah, you know what? You can go to the website and sign up. I'm like, really? Like, there's track days for drifting? Mind you, I've been on the track days for a while, and I had no idea that there was drifting like that.
Coming from like the circuit racing world too, it's like the Wild West of like event organization too.
Yeah,
drifting.
There's not a lot of promotion and stuff. Yeah, it's so that's how I found out, and I'm like, I gotta do it. Like, so I started looking up for like cheap cars that I could drive, going on forums and stuff, and then everybody talks about 350Zs. I found this 370Z that was like really cheap, and I'm like, I'm getting this, and I'm going to drifting. You know, I'm gonna go see what's all about. So I didn't know anybody on the drifting community. Jonathan, I talked to him, but he probably thought I was never gonna go there. Like, you know, I wanted to go, but we weren't really buddies. So he just told me, like, yeah, go. And he wasn't there all the time too. So nothing. I signed up for I got the car, welded the diff, signed up for my first event. Hit up a buddy of mine and say, hey, I'm gonna go to this drift event. You wanna come? So sure, let's go. So nothing. I showed up and went drifting my first time, and I was hooked. It was like, man, this is awesome. I wanna do more.
I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, 4 years from that to Pro-Am champ that's pretty quick.
Are you sure it was 19?
2019. Yeah. I remember exactly.
I mean, that's fast. I mean, that's impressive.
And I started
the last year they drift at PBIR, correct?
Well, he was back in Immokalee. That's where I saw you.
Yeah, Immokalee was 2019 too. I didn't even have angle. Like, I drove that car for like about 5-6 months, and then since I got involved and I started like hearing about like Lone Star Drift was like really big and stuff, because they talked a lot about like the 370Z. Like, Aaron went into detail of like the Wise Fab. That's where I started learning this whole thing.
I think Streetwise was gone by then, so yeah, there was no Pro-Am in Florida really.
No.
Yeah.
If there was, I wasn't really looking into it because I was just driving for fun.
Sure,
I had no expectations that I would compete. Like, I was sucking.
But you transitioned, and I'm going to jump ahead. you transitioned to the Corvette pretty quickly because I have footage of us 3 driving Sebring back in 2020.
Yeah, it's
I was in Africa behind you 2, but we're all 3 of us were on track.
yeah. I got the Corvette pretty right after the 370. So it happened towards the end of watching Aaron and stuff, like the whole Ebisu stuff. Some buddies of mine, they're like, we're going to Japan, and I'm like doing Drift Matsuri, which was in November, and I'm like, okay, I want to go there. Like, again, not knowing anybody, having no friends in the drifting community,
Man.
I just go like, let's go to Japan because that's what all the Lone Star guys like. That's what I was watching, and I'm like, I just want to go experience it and see if I could buy a car, rent one, and stuff. And yeah, I went to Japan, saw Aaron there. And I'm like, dude, you're the guy from Lone Star Drift. And I'm like, how can I drive, man? I want to rent a car or something. So he introduces me to Andy, like from Power Vehicles. It's like, this is what you can do. So whatever, I ended up getting a car, driving it, and it was like just drifting from there. I didn't go full on like competition drifting there. I did a couple of clutch gear stuff, but for fun and stuff, I was doing bad. Like, it was like my second year doing clutch kickers. Like, I would take like 8 different pairs of different tire brands, like
Nice.
on comp and stuff. Like, I had no clue, saving money or whatever.
No consistency at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, because at the same time I was doing like far racing down in Homestead and stuff, and I was doing really good, like winning races and stuff.
Oh, nice.
My wife was like, why are you drifting? You suck at it. Just go, go race. And so that kind of like, as I worked my way on drifting, like trying to get better, that's when I decided to do like the NASA championship on 22. And at the same time, I did a couple of Pro-Am events, and it kind of like I went to racing, and then I won the 3rd Pro-Am event at Sebring on 22, and everybody's like, you gotta come like compete more. So I was like,
it's hard once you kind of like get that momentum behind you, right? To not just go full
I
in.
was trying to think of a different way, which was completely wrong. You like built momentum, whereas I was thinking, it's like, man, the wife is telling me that I suck at this, but I'm having more fun race. The drifting, man, I better get good at drifting so that I can keep drifting.
My wife is kind of bluntly honest with me like that too. She's like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, I mean, she wouldn't say you suck, but you're like, you should do racing. You're better at it.
Yeah.
It's like you can't expect to just go win or do good when you're in your first couple of like, events. But it's just like far was pretty simple in the sense because I was invited by a guy that was driving already, and so it was his car. It was already set up. It was good, and it was a good platform. But yeah, that's basically how I transitioned from like racing to drifting, and I'm dying to go back into racing.